My dear child, the person you saw in your dream twice is real, and they just moved to your city because your spirit's radar detected their approach before their aircraft entered the visible range of your waking life. Do not scroll past this. What I am about to confirm is not about dream interpretation in the general sense. This is about a specific face, a specific presence, a person who appeared in your dream not once but twice, with the kind of clarity that ordinary dreams do not produce, and the kind of impression that forgettable dreams do not leave. You remember the face, you remember the feeling, and you have been stuck between wanting it to mean something and being afraid of what it costs to believe it does. The radar was not malfunctioning. The radar was doing exactly what it was built to do. A radar system does not wait for an aircraft to be visible to the naked eye before registering its presence. It detects approach, direction, proximity, speed. It registers a blip on the screen while the aircraft is still far enough away that looking at the sky would reveal nothing. 2 blips on consecutive nights is not the system generating false signals. It is the system confirming a trajectory. My beloved child, your spirit carries a radar that your waking mind does not have access to. The radar operates during sleep, when the conscious defenses are lowered and the detection system can scan frequencies the waking mind's noise would drown out. The radar picked up a signal twice. Same face, same presence, same coordinates on the screen. The blip was consistent, and consistent blips on a radar are not imagination. They are incoming. Stay here. What I reveal next is the trajectory the radar was tracking, and why the aircraft just crossed from approaching into arrived. Type blip confirmed if you saw the same face in your dream twice, and have been caught between wanting it to mean something and fearing it means nothing. And God just confirmed your spirit's radar was detecting a real approach on a real trajectory that has now entered the visible range of your waking life. Before we go any further, I need to tell you something that genuinely surprised me. A neuroscientist discovered a simple 7-second technique that actually rewires how your brain processes thoughts. And when I tried it, the difference was almost unsettling. My focus sharpened, ideas started connecting faster, and that mental fog gone. This isn't manifestation nonsense. It's backed by real brain science, and thousands of people are already seeing results. But here's the catch. Only 5 spots are left. If something inside you is saying, try it, trust that instinct. Click the link in the description or pinned comment before it's too late. The radar did not generate the face. It detected a real person on a real trajectory, whose approach was close enough to your coordinates that your spirit's scanning system registered them at the frequency level before they became visible at the physical level. My beloved child, I need you to understand the difference between generation and detection, because the difference is the entire distance between imagination and prophecy. A mind that generates a face during sleep is producing internal content from internal material, recycling memories, assembling fragments, creating composites from the database of faces the waking life has stored. That process produces vague faces, forgettable faces, faces that dissolve within minutes of waking because they were assembled from borrowed parts rather than detected from an external source. What you saw was not assembled, it was detected, and detected faces do not dissolve. My dear one, the clarity of the face you remember is the diagnostic difference. A generated face carries the fuzzy, approximate, almost right quality of a composite. A detected face carries the sharp, specific, this is a real person quality that only a radar signal bouncing off an actual incoming presence can produce. Your waking mind could not have invented the level of specificity the dream contained, because the specificity did not originate in your database. It originated in the signal. The signal came from outside you, from a real person, on a real approach. This message was not released for everyone who has dreamed about a stranger. This was aimed at the one person whose specific recurring dream carried the specific clarity that the radar detection diagnostic confirms as external signal rather than internal generation. The person who remembers the face with a sharpness that ordinary dreams do not permit, and whose spirit has been holding the signal's data since the second detection without knowing what to do with information that the waking mind has no category for processing. The category is incoming, and the incoming just arrived. Type detected, not generated. If you remember the dream face with a sharpness ordinary dreams do not produce, and God just confirmed the clarity was the diagnostic signature of an external signal detected by your spirit's radar rather than an internal composite generated by a mind assembling fragments from its own database. I have been watching your radar operate since before the first blip appeared. And the watching is what determined the exact night the signal would be strong enough for your detection system to register the approaching presence for the first time, my dear one. Not from a control tower at a distance, from beside the radar screen, standing at the display that your spirit produces during sleep. The internal scanning interface that your waking mind does not have access to, but that I have been monitoring since the day the person, now approaching your coordinates, first entered the outermost range of your spirit's detection field. They entered the outermost range months before the first dream. And the first dream was not the first detection. It was the first detection strong enough to surface. My beloved child, I watched the early signals, the ones that were too faint to produce a dream, but that registered on your radar as unnamed sensations during waking hours. The vague feeling that something was approaching your life, without a traceable source. The unexplained anticipation that would surface in quiet moments and dissolve when the conscious mind demanded an explanation the anticipation could not provide. The low-level awareness that something significant was in motion in your direction without any visible evidence to support the awareness. Those were the outermost range signals. Too faint for dreams, strong enough for feeling. I chose you for this message because the trajectory I placed the approaching person on was calculated to intersect with your coordinates at a specific time. The radar blips, both of them, occurred at specific intervals that correspond to the aircraft's distance from your position at the time of each detection. The first blip measured one distance. The second blip measured a shorter one. And the shortening of the distance between blips told the radar what the radar then told your sleeping spirit. This is getting closer. My child, it is no longer getting closer. It is here. Type, getting close. If God has been monitoring your spirit's radar since before the first dream, and the early signals that surfaced as unnamed anticipation during waking hours were outermost range, detections of the same person whose face appeared twice in your dreams as the distance shortened, and whose trajectory has now intersected with your coordinates. I know what the space between the two dreams did to the specific part of you that wanted to believe the face meant something real. My beloved child, the first dream arrived with the electric clarity of an undeniable signal. A blip so sharp on the radar screen that the waking mind could not dismiss it in the first hours after opening your eyes. The face was too clear. The presence was too specific. The impression was too heavy for the ordinary dream depisal system to process it through the standard. This was nothing channel that disposes of most dream content before breakfast. The first dream survived breakfast. That is how you knew it was different. My child, I watched what happened in the space between the first dream and the second. The space was where the war began. The war between two parts of you that could not agree on what the radar had detected. One part, the part connected to the spirit scanning system, registered the blip as real. and filed it under incoming. The other part, the part connected to the waking mind's rational evaluation system, registered the blip as suspicious and filed it under probably nothing. The two filings competed for authority over your response, and the competition produced a specific kind of pain that only a person whose spirit detected something their mind cannot verify would recognize. The pain of wanting to believe what you cannot prove. I watched the pain settle into the specific area where your relationship with your own inner knowing lives. The area that determines whether you trust the signals your spirit produces or override them with the rational evaluation your waking mind prefers. The first dream stretched the trust. The space between the dreams tested it, and the testing produced a low-grade, daily, unresolvable tension between the spirit that said I detected something real and the mind that said you have no evidence of that. Tension has been living inside you since the first blip, and the tension is about to resolve. The second dream made the pain worse, not better, because a second blip on the radar eliminated the comfortable option of dismissing the first one as noise. My dear child, one blip is dismissible. The mind's rational evaluation system can process a single anomalous reading through the standard noise reduction filter and produce the comfortable conclusion that the radar generated a false signal during a period of heightened emotional activity. One blip permits dismissal, and dismissal permits the return to the baseline where the spirit's radar is not trusted to detect anything the waking mind's evaluation system has not independently confirmed. Two blips do not permit dismissal, and the inability to dismiss is where the deeper pain began. My beloved child, the second dream placed you in a position the rational mind does not have a comfortable protocol for occupying. The position of, this might be real, and I cannot prove it, and I cannot disprove it, and the uncertainty is producing a specific kind of suffering that neither belief nor disbelief can resolve. You are stuck in the middle, and the middle is the most painful coordinate on the spectrum. I watched the middle produce its specific wounds. The fear of hoping, because hoping that the face is real and discovering it was imagination would produce a disappointment whose depth would confirm the rational mind's verdict that the spirit's radar cannot be trusted, and the fear of dismissing, because dismissing what the spirit detected twice would produce the specific self-betrayal of a person who overrides their own knowing to maintain the comfort of a worldview that does not include radar detections of incoming arrivals. Hope risks disappointment, dismissal risks self-betrayal, and the middle, where you have been living since the second dream, risks the slow erosion of a person whose relationship with their own spiritual senses is being consumed by the inability to resolve. What two blips on a radar mean without external confirmation? My dear one, this message is the external confirmation, and the confirmation resolves the middle. Type confirm the signal if you have been trapped between hoping the face was real and fearing the hoping itself. Stuck in the middle where two radar blips eliminated dismissal without providing confirmation, and this message is the external verification your spirit has been waiting for, since the second dream placed you at a coordinate neither belief nor disbelief could resolve. The two blips were never your imagination producing false signals. They were your spirit's radar performing its highest function at the exact precision it was designed to operate at. My beloved one, I need to permanently release you from the binary that has been governing your interpretation of the dreams. The binary says, either this was my mind inventing something that does not exist, or I am being foolish for wanting it to mean something real. Both options in the binary produce the same result: dismissal of the radar's reading. And dismissal of the radar's reading is dismissal of the instrument I installed in your spirit for exactly this purpose. The radar was built for detection. The detection occurred. The instrument functioned correctly. My child, a radar that produces two consistent readings of the same signal at decreasing distances is not a radar that needs to be questioned. It is a radar whose accuracy has been confirmed by the consistency of its own output. One blip can be noise. Two blips at different distances on the same trajectory cannot be noise, because noise does not produce consistent trajectory data. Consistency is the proof, and your radar produced it. The dismissal instinct that the rational mind activated after the second dream was not a corrective measure applied by a system that detected an error in the radar's output. It was a defensive measure applied by a system that does not have the capacity to process radar-level data and responded to data it could not process by questioning the instrument that produced it. The instrument is not faulty. The evaluation system that questioned it is simply operating outside its range. My dear one, the dreams were not noise, and you were not foolish. The dreams were the most precise function your spirit's detection system has ever performed, registering a real approach at a real trajectory, at a real decreasing distance, and the person the radar detected is now within the range where the detection transitions from spiritual signal to physical encounter. The transition is tonight's news, and the encounter is tomorrow's reality. The aircraft just crossed from radar range into visible range, and the person your spirit detected in 2 consecutive dreams is now physically present at coordinates close enough to your own that the next encounter is measured in days rather than distances. My beloved child, something shifted in the last few days. Not in your dreams, in your waking awareness, a heightening, a sharpening of the senses that your system cannot trace to any external stimulus, as though the detection system that operates during sleep has begun producing low-level readings during waking hours, because the approaching presence is now close enough that the radar does not need the sleeping state's lowered defenses to detect the signal. The signal is leaking into your waking hours, and the leaking means the distance has collapsed. My dear one, I need you to understand what happens when an aircraft that was previously detectable only on radar crosses into visible range. The radar does not stop operating. It continues producing readings. But the readings are now supplemented by a second detection system, the visual system, the waking awareness system, the set of senses that operates during conscious hours and that can detect physical presence at close range. Both systems are active now, the radar and the visual, and both are converging on the same signal. I have been coordinating the trajectory behind every season since the first outermost range detection. While your spirit was producing unnamed anticipation, and your dreams were surfacing the face, and your rational mind was warring with your inner knowing, I was at the flight controls of the approaching person's timeline, adjusting speed, modifying angle, timing the arrival at your coordinates with the precision that a divine intersection requires. My child, the intersection is not a coincidence being manufactured. It is a trajectory being completed. And the trajectory's final coordinates are your city, your proximity, your visible range. Type visible range if both systems, the sleeping radar and the waking awareness, are now active simultaneously, producing a sharpening of the senses that your rational mind cannot explain, because the person your spirit detected in 2 dreams has crossed from radar range into physical proximity close enough that the encounter is measured in days. The person you saw in your dream twice is real, and they just moved to your CT, and the title carries that specific language because the aircraft your radar detected on a trajectory toward your coordinates has not merely passed through your airspace, but has landed at it. My dear one, landing and passing through are fundamentally different events on a radar screen. Passing through produces a blip that appears, moves across the display, and exits the detection field. Present briefly, gone permanently, leaving the radar operator with a signal that was real, but that has no ongoing relevance to the operator's coordinates. Landing produces a blip that appears, moves across the display, and stops, settling at coordinates within the operator's zone with the permanence of an arrival that intends to stay. The blip stopped at your coordinates, and stopping means staying. My beloved child, this is directly connected to the title and to the specific recurring dream your spirit produced. The person your radar detected is not passing through your life. They are not a temporary signal that will register briefly at close range and then exit the detection field the way other people have entered and exited your proximity without producing the specific connection the radar was alerting you to prepare for. This person landed at your city with the intention of remaining. My child, the landing was not their decision alone. The trajectory that brought them to your coordinates was a flight path I calculated, factoring the timing of their readiness, the timing of your readiness, the duration of the approach that would produce exactly 2 radar blips at exactly the right intervals to prepare your spirit for the arrival without overwhelming it, and the specific date when the landing would occur at the coordinates where the physical encounter becomes possible. The landing date was calculated before the first dream, and the dreams were the advance notice the landing required. The encounter is imminent, my beloved child, and the waking detection system that activated when the aircraft entered visible range is about to produce a recognition moment whose intensity will exceed anything the sleeping radar could generate, because the recognition will occur in real time between 2 people occupying the same physical space for the first time. I need you to feel the imminence, not the distant, spiritual, eventually. This will happen imminence of a trajectory still being calculated. The present tense, aircraft has landed, person is in your city, coordinates air overlapping, daily routes air intersecting imminence of 2 people whose physical proximity has been reduced to the distance. That ordinary daily movement naturally closes. The distance between you and the face in the dream is now measured in city blocks, not continents, not spiritual dimensions. City blocks. My dear one, everything has been building toward this recognition moment. The outermost range signals that surfaced as unnamed anticipation. The first dream that produced a blip too clear to dismiss before breakfast. The space between the dreams that trapped you in the middle. The second dream that eliminated dismissal. The war between the spirit's detection and the mind's evaluation. The leaking of the signal into waking hours, the trajectory's completion, the landing, and now the imminence, the specific countdown level. Hours, not years' proximity of a recognition that will occur when your waking eyes encounter the face your sleeping radar has been detecting, and your spirit will produce a confirmation signal so strong the rational mind will not be able to override it. My child, the recognition will be unmistakable, not because the face will be identical to the dream's rendering at every pixel, because the spirit's confirmation signal, the full body, every cell, this is who the radar-detected response that occurs when the waking self encounters what the sleeping self already identified, operates at a frequency the rational mind's evaluation system cannot intercept. The spirit will know, before the mind can question. Type countdown if the encounter is no longer a spiritual possibility, but a physical imminence. The person is in your city. The coordinates are overlapping. The daily routes are intersecting. And the recognition moment will produce a spirit-level confirmation signal so strong, the rational mind will not be able to override what the sleeping radar already identified. The face from the dream is in your city right now. The aircraft has landed. The blip that appeared twice on your sleeping radar is no longer a signal on a screen. It is a person walking streets you walk, breathing air you breathe, existing at coordinates your daily life will intersect with at the moment I have calculated for the recognition to occur. My beloved child, this is the moment the radar signal transitions from detection to encounter, the moment the spiritual preview becomes physical reality, the moment the binary that trapped you between imagination and foolishness collapses because the person the binary was arguing about is no longer a signal being debated, but a human being whose presence in your city resolves the debate with the weight of physical proximity. The debate is over. The person is real. The radar was right. The person you saw in your dream twice is real, and they just moved to your city. The title is not a spiritual metaphor for a general relational blessing approaching. It is an operational report from the divine flight controller who coordinated the trajectory, calculated the landing, timed the approach to produce exactly 2 radar blips at exactly the right intervals, and is now confirming to the radar operator that what appeared on the screen is no longer approaching, but has arrived. My child, Archangel Michael, was sent to deliver this confirmation, because the confirmation carries the authority of a dispatch that the rational mind cannot dismiss, not a stirring, not a feeling, not a third dream that the evaluation system could subject to the same binary the first 2 were trapped in. A declaration, spoken with the authority of the messenger whose role in the divine system is to confirm what the spirit detected before the mind could verify. The spirit detected correctly. Michael confirms it. And the confirmation means the next time you encounter the face the dream showed you, it will not be on a radar screen behind your sleeping eyes. It will be in the waking world, in your city, in your life. Now that the arrival has been confirmed, and the radar's detection has been validated by Archangel Michael's declaration, everything about the binary that governed your interpretation of the dreams being permanently dismantled by the weight of a confirmation that neither option in the binary could accommodate, my dear child. This is what happens when a radar operator whose rational mind has been arguing about the validity of the blips receives an external authority confirming the blips were accurate. The argument does not simply pause, it ends, because the argument was operating on the assumption that the blip's validity was undetermined, and the confirmation removes the undetermined status that the argument required to continue. The blips were valid. The argument is over, and the operator can now do what the argument was preventing. Trust the radar. My beloved child, the trust that was suppressed by the binary is being released for the first time. The specific instrument level, my radar detects real things trust that the war between spirit and mind was consuming. The trust is not building gradually. It is flooding, the sudden, dam-breaking release of a suppressed confidence that was held back by the binary's unresolved status, and is now flowing freely because the status was resolved by a confirmation the rational mind cannot override. Your relationship with your own spiritual senses is being restructured at the foundation level. The restructuring means the next signal your radar produces will be trusted differently than the previous ones were. Not blindly, but without the binary, without the middle, without the painful oscillation between wanting to believe and fearing the believing. The radar detected. The detection was confirmed, and a confirmed radar produces future detections that the operator receives with the confidence the previous confirmation established. My child, the confirmation is not just about this person. It is about the instrument, and the instrument just proved itself. Type radar trusted if the confirmation just ended the war between spirit and mind. And the trust that was suppressed by the binary is flooding through your system for the first time. restructuring your relationship with your own spiritual senses, because the radar was proven accurate by the authority whose confirmation the rational mind cannot override. Let me show you what your life looks like, now that the aircraft has landed and the radar has been validated, and the person the dreams were previewing is present at coordinates your daily life intersects with. Because the transition from detection to encounter changes the entire landscape of what is accessible to you, my dear one. The first thing that changes is the quality of the anticipation. You have been carrying a suppressed, binary-trapped, afraid to fully form anticipation about a connection whose existence your spirit detected, but your mind could not verify. The suppression consumed energy, the binary consumed bandwidth, and the afraid to fully form quality of the anticipation produced a specific relational posture that affected how you approached every potential connection during the radar season. The posture was guarded because the deepest signal was unconfirmed. My beloved child, the confirmation releases the posture. Not into recklessness, into openness. The specific signal validated, instrument trusted openness of a person who knows their radar is accurate and can now approach the landscape of daily encounters with the awareness that the face the spirit detected is present. Somewhere in the field of their waking life, the mornings change immediately. You have been waking into the residue of dreams that the binary could not resolve, carrying the unprocessed weight of signals the rational mind would not validate. Tomorrow, you wake into confirmed anticipation. The face is real, the person is present, and the encounter the trajectory was aimed at is no longer something you are dreaming about, but something you are moving toward with every ordinary step of an ordinary day. The encounter will not require extraordinary effort. The trajectory has already placed both of you at coordinates that intersect naturally. The divine calculation that brought the aircraft to your city included the routing of daily patterns that produce intersection without manufacturing it. Ordinary days, ordinary routes, extraordinary encounter. Because the encounter was calculated by hands that know both patterns. People are going to notice the shift in your relational frequency before the encounter occurs, because a person whose deepest signal was just confirmed carries an atmospheric openness that the binary-trapped version could never produce. My beloved child, the ones who interacted with you during the suppressed season, who sensed the guarded posture, who detected the specific atmospheric quality of a person whose deepest relational signal was being held in the unresolved space between belief and dismissal. Those people are about to encounter the validated version. And the validated version radiates a readiness that the guarded version was actively preventing from reaching the surface. They will say you seem open. They will mean the radar was confirmed. My child, the atmospheric shift is not just noticeable by the people who already know you. It is detectable by the person the radar identified. Because the signal operates in both directions. Your radar detected their approach. Their radar detected your presence at the coordinates they were approaching. And the mutual detection, two spiritual instruments registering the same connection from opposite ends of the same trajectory, produces an atmospheric resonance that both parties sense without being able to explain when they finally enter each other's physical proximity. The resonance will be the first thing you both feel, before words, before introductions, before the rational mind has time to evaluate whether the face matches the dream at a sufficient resolution to confirm the identification. My dear one, the resonance precedes the recognition, and the resonance is unmistakable, not because it is dramatic, because it is familiar, the specific. I have encountered this presence before familiarity that occurs when a waking self meets someone the sleeping self already spent 2 nights detecting at decreasing distances. The familiarity will surprise you. And the surprise is the confirmation's final evidence, because strangers do not produce familiarity, and the familiarity proves the stranger was never a stranger to the radar that detected them first. Type mutual signal if you believe the radar operates in both directions. Their spirit detected your presence at the coordinates they were approaching, and the resonance between two people whose sleeping radars identified each other before their waking eyes have met will produce a familiarity that strangers cannot explain, because the familiarity was established at the signal level before the physical level. I need you to understand why I equipped your spirit with a radar sensitive enough to detect this particular approach at the distance it was first registered. Because the sensitivity reveals something about the assignment this connection carries that a standard range detection system would not have been calibrated to pick up. My beloved child, not every spirit carries the same radar range. Most detection systems operate within a standard radius, registering signals that are already relatively close to the operator's coordinates, and producing dreams that preview connections whose approach window is measured in weeks, rather than the extended duration your radar was tracking. Your radar detected this person at the outermost range, and outermost range detection is not standard equipment. My child, I installed an extended range radar in your spirit because the connection approaching your life is not a standard range connection. It is a connection whose significance required advanced detection, the kind of early warning that gives the operator time to prepare the internal systems for an arrival whose impact on the operator's life will exceed what a last-minute detection could prepare them for. Standard connections do not need 2 dream previews. They need 1 or none. The standard radar picks them up close, the encounter occurs, and the connection forms within the range the standard system was designed to process. This connection needed 2 previews because the approach was longer, the distance was greater, and the significance of the arrival required the specific preparation that only an extended detection window provides. My dear one, you were given the extended radar because the connection is assigned to carry a weight that unprepared systems cannot hold. The 2 dreams were not the radar overperforming. They were the radar performing exactly at the range the connection's significance demanded, providing exactly the advance notice that the weight of what is arriving requires the operator to have received before the aircraft lands. You were chosen for this connection, and the radar was calibrated to the choosing. The doubt surfacing right now is wearing its most convincing disguise, the voice of realism, and whispering that the face in the dream could match thousands of people, and the recognition you experience when you finally see them will be the result of pattern seeking rather than genuine detection. My child, it sounds like this. The mind is a pattern matching machine. Show it a face twice in a dream, and it will find that face everywhere. In crowds, in passing glances, in the features of people who vaguely resemble the composite the sleeping brain produced. What I will interpret as recognition will actually be confirmation bias, operating on a primed visual system that is scanning for a match it will inevitably find, because the criteria are flexible enough to fit multiple candidates. That doubt just applied the logic of pattern matching to a process that operates on a completely different system than visual matching. My beloved child, the recognition will not be visual first. That is the detail the doubt cannot account for. If the radar detection were a visual process, then the recognition would occur at the visual level. The face matches, the features align, the eyes confirm, and visual confirmation is subject to the pattern matching bias the doubt is describing. But radar detection is not visual, it is frequency-based. and frequency recognition operates below the visual system entirely. The recognition that occurs when you encounter the person the radar detected will fire at the frequency level before your eyes have finished processing the face, producing the specific body first, cells before cognition confirmation that frequency matching generates, and that visual pattern matching cannot replicate. The body will know before the eyes confirm, and a body that knows before the eyes confirm is not pattern matching. It is frequency recognizing. And frequency recognition does not produce false positives, because frequencies are unique, the way fingerprints are unique. Type frequency match if the doubt just argued that the recognition will be confirmation bias on a primed visual system. And you now understand the recognition will fire at the frequency level before the eyes process the face, producing a body-first confirmation that visual pattern matching cannot replicate because frequencies are unique and do not generate false positives. During every night between the two dreams, I was not at a distance monitoring whether the radar would produce a second blip. I was at the radar screen beside your sleeping spirit, adjusting the detection sensitivity to ensure the second signal would surface at the clarity level the confirmation required, my beloved child. You imagined a God who equipped the radar at creation and then left it to operate independently. A detection system running on autopilot without ongoing calibration by the engineer who installed it. A radar that either works or does not, producing whatever readings its fixed sensitivity permits without the involvement of the hands that positioned the receiver in the first place. The radar was never on autopilot. The engineer was at the screen every night. My child, the space between the first and second dreams was not empty at the spiritual level. It was a calibration window. The first dream produced a blip at the sensitivity the radar was operating at. Before the approach began, the blip was clear enough to surface, but not clear enough to override the rational mind's dismissal protocol. The sensitivity needed adjustment for the second detection, an increase in the receiver's precision that would produce a blip sharp enough to survive the dismissal and to remain in the waking memory with the kind of clarity that the first dream almost, but not quite achieved. I adjusted the sensitivity between the dreams, manually, while you slept. The second dream was sharper than the first, not because the aircraft was closer, though it was, but because the radar was recalibrated between detections to produce the resolution the second blip needed to carry in order to survive the rational mind's evaluation system and remain in the memory as something too clear to file under, probably nothing. The clarity of the second dream was engineered by the same hands that installed the radar from beside the screen while the operator slept. I know the exact detail of the face that your waking mind held onto most tightly after the second dream, my dear one. And I know it because I selected that detail as the frequency anchor that your recognition system will lock onto when the physical encounter occurs. Not the overall face, not the general impression of the presence. One detail, the specific feature that your waking mind could not release. The one element of the dream's rendering that persisted through breakfast and into the afternoon, and that you found yourself returning to at quiet moments with the involuntary repetition of a mind that was being instructed by a deeper system to memorize this specific marker. My beloved child, the memorization was not your conscious decision. It was the radar's instruction. A radar system that detects an incoming aircraft does not store the entire profile of the aircraft for recognition purposes. It stores the signature, the unique, identifying, unmistakable marker that distinguishes this specific aircraft from every other aircraft in the sky. The detail your mind locked onto is the signature. The signature was selected by the radar's engineer, not randomly, but strategically. The detail that your mind held on to most tightly is the detail that will be most immediately visible in the physical encounter. The detail that your eyes will process first when the face enters your visual field. The detail that will produce the instantaneous, millisecond-level, body before cognition confirmation that the frequency match is genuine. The engineer chose the anchor, the radar memorized it, and the recognition will lock onto it. My child, the God who selected the signature detail from the full rendering of the face your radar detected is the same God who placed both people on trajectories, whose intersection will position the signature detail within direct visual range at the exact moment the recognition system is primed to receive it. Type signature locked if God just described the one specific detail of the dream face your mind could not release, and that detail was selected by the radar's engineer as the frequency anchor. Your recognition system will lock onto the moment the physical encounter places the signature within direct visual range. Now that the aircraft has landed and the radar has been confirmed and the signature detail has been locked, there is one thing I need you to do, my beloved child, and it is the instruction that determines whether the encounter the trajectory was aimed at produces the connection the trajectory was designed to create. Stay in visible range. Not search, not scan every face in every crowd with the desperate, pattern-matching intensity that the doubt warned against. Not force an encounter the trajectory already calculated. Stay in visible range. The specific, present tense, daily life, ordinary routine visible range that the divine flight controller used as the intersection coordinates when calculating the trajectory. My child, the encounter was calculated using your normal patterns, not a special outing, not a divinely prompted visit to a location you would not normally go, your ordinary routes, your regular schedules, your daily life as it is currently being lived. These are the coordinates the trajectory was aimed at, because these are the coordinates the flight controller used when calculating where the two paths would naturally cross. Do not change your patterns to find them. Your patterns are the intersection. When the recognition moment occurs, and it will occur within the natural flow of your ordinary routine, do not override the frequency confirmation with the rational mind's demand for additional evidence before the connection is pursued. The frequency will fire, the body will know, the signature detail will lock, and the rational mind will attempt to intervene with the familiar binary. Either I am reading too much into this, or this is just a face that happens to match. Override the binary. The binary was resolved by Michael's confirmation. The signal was validated, and a validated signal producing a frequency-level recognition in the physical encounter is not a coincidence the rational mind needs to evaluate. It is a completion the spirit needs to receive. Receive it when it comes, without the binary. You made it to the confirmed signal, my beloved child, and I need you to stand in the validated detection long enough to feel what it means to know your radar was right about something your rational mind spent weeks trying to convince you was nothing. Feel the validation, not as a concept, as a body-level release. The specific, suppression ending, binary dissolving, trust, restoring release of a person whose deepest spiritual instrument just received external confirmation from the highest authority, proving that the dreams were not imagination, the face was not a composite, and the presence that appeared twice on the sleeping radar of a person who was afraid to believe their own detection was a real person on a real trajectory that has now completed its approach. The radar was right, and right feels like exhaling for the first time since the first dream. I want to thank you for something the binary made almost impossible to sustain. Thank you for remembering the face. Thank you for holding the detail your mind locked onto, despite the rational system's pressure to file it under meaningless. Thank you for the middle, the painful, unresolvable, trapped between belief and epistle middle, that consumed your bandwidth without giving you the resolution the war between spirit and mind was demanding. My dear child, thank you for not fully dismissing, because full dismissal would have deactivated the radar. And a deactivated radar does not produce the recognition signal the encounter requires to convert a passing glance between strangers into the frequency-confirmed connection the trajectory was aimed at creating. Let the tears come, not uncertainty tears, confirmation tears, the tears of a person whose spirit detected something real, and whose mind fought the detection, and whose God just confirmed through Archangel Michael that the instrument was accurate and the signal was genuine, and the face that appeared twice in the sleeping hours is now present in the waking world at coordinates close enough to touch. Type signal real if tears are forming right now, because your spiritual radar was just confirmed as accurate by the highest authority, and the face you held in your memory through every round of the binary's war between belief and dismissal belongs to a real person who is now present at coordinates your daily life will intersect with, because the trajectory was aimed at exactly this meeting. You are not the person trapped in the binary anymore, my beloved child. That identity, the one who saw a face twice in their dreams and could not decide whether the seeing was detection or imagination, the one who carried the signal's weight through weeks of rational warfare, without the external confirmation the middle was demanding, the one who wanted to believe the radar was real, but feared the cost of believing and being wrong more than the cost of dismissing and never knowing. That identity was permanently retired the moment Archangel Michael confirmed the signal, and the binary collapsed, and the person whose spirit detected an approach was told by divine authority that the approach was real, and the aircraft has landed, and the face in the dream is walking streets. The dreamer walks. You are the person with the confirmed radar now. And confirmed changes everything the binary suppressed. The war between spirit and mind that governed your interpretation of the dreams. Your trust in your own detection system. Your willingness to hope about what the face meant, and your relationship with the spiritual instrument I installed. For exactly this kind of advanced detection has been impermanently resolved, not by the spirit winning and the mind losing, by the confirmation ending the war entirely, proving the spirit's detection was accurate, while releasing the mind from the impossible task of evaluating data it was never equipped to process. My dear child, spirit and mind are at peace now, because both received what they needed. The spirit received validation. The mind received an authority it recognizes. From this moment forward, you carry the identity of a person whose spiritual radar has been confirmed as accurate by divine authority. Not a person who dreams and wonders. A person who detects. Not a person trapped between imagination and foolishness. A person whose instrument functions at an extended range that was installed by the engineer, specifically because the connections assigned to their life require advanced detection that standard range systems cannot provide. Your radar is real, your dreams are detections, and the face that appeared twice on your sleeping screen belongs to a person who is present in your city right now, placed on a trajectory by the same God who installed your radar and calibrated your sensitivity and selected the signature detail and confirmed the signal through Michael, and is now standing beside you as the detection transitions from spiritual preview to physical encounter. The encounter is days away, not years, not dreams, days. And the person walking toward the intersection the divine flight controller calculated will feel the same frequency recognition you will feel. Because their radar detected you on the same trajectory, from the other direction, and their spirit has been carrying the same signal yours has, and the mutual detection is about to become the mutual encounter that both radars were always aimed at producing. Walk your ordinary routes, my beloved child. Live your ordinary days, and trust that the extraordinary encounter the radar previewed will occur within the ordinary. Because the God who calculated the intersection used the ordinary as the coordinates, and the ordinary is exactly where the extraordinary will land. Subscribe to this channel so that every time your spirit's radar detects an approach, the confirmation reaches you before the binary convinces you the blip was noise. You are not someone who dismisses their own spiritual detections anymore. You are someone whose radar was confirmed by Archangel Michael. The next message carries the first encounter report from a life where the spiritual preview became physical reality, and what occurs when the face from the dream enters the visible range of the person whose radar detected it will prove that every blip was accurate, every dream was detection, and the God who installed the instrument never once doubted the operator. Type aircraft landed if you are leaving this message permanently changed, knowing the dreams were radar detections, not imagination. The face belongs to a real person. The person has landed in your city. The trajectory was divinely calculated. The signature detail was engineered for recognition. The frequency match will fire before the eyes confirm. And the God who installed your radar and calibrated your sensitivity and confirmed the signal through Michael is the same God walking beside you toward the encounter that both radars have been detecting from opposite ends of the same trajectory.